Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. MrAyrit here. Special episode today. It's another conversation, this time with Ryan Ho from his channel here on YouTube. He's another gaming slash headphone enthusiast like myself. And it's a two-parter again. First chunk is going to be following this intro here, and it's us talking about our gaming setups and just what we feel are good value propositions for different gaming headphones and things like that, and where diminishing returns come in. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into that. Definitely go check out his channel afterwards to go see part 2, which is where we talk more about trying out different headphones and his experience at CanJam, which was something I was really interested in. Hope you enjoy the conversation. I will see you at the end of the video again.
It seems like we both have a pretty high interest in gaming, right? We had a little conversation before. In a lot of our reviews, we're talking about gaming, and it seems to be the reason why maybe we both got into this hobby. So, seems like a natural place to start the conversation.
Yeah, so like for me, I started using gaming headphones like HyperX's and stuff, and then I want to get better headphones, and like quarantine happened, and it was just like I'm stuck at home all day, like I want to listen to good music, and like literally I used to go to like concerts, like Coachella and all that stuff, like all the time, but then you couldn't go during quarantine, so then I was like, I just want to have a good audio experience at home, so that's when I started buying more
Buying,
expensive
buying,
headphones.
buying, 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 right?
Yes, just buying, buying, buying.
So you're relatively new to
Yeah.
headphones then. Only quarantine. So what, like a couple of years, not even a couple of years that you're into this?
Yeah, honestly, I started probably only like a year ago. Not even like I probably started in like January, like really getting into like more expensive headphones. I bought the HyperX Cloud Orbits, which are like they're basically Auto Z Mobiuses, they're planar magnetic like close back, and I thought like, wow, this is like my entry to like the game, and it would sound really good. But then I was like, what's better than that? Like what's going above and beyond that? And then that's how I got into this trap of, buying gear, testing stuff, and just like going down this rabbit hole.
I tell you, I think so many people fall into it that way, and it's like once you get a taste of what's like a little bit better audio, then you're just like, well, what's a little bit better? Well, what's a little bit better? What's a lot better? And then there goes your wallet, right?
Yeah, it's like this unstoppable, just like sinkhole, just like keep going down and down. And I mean, you start asking your questions like, oh, is DAC and amps, like how much did I spend on those? You're like, how much are gaming headphones are like $300? Are those like worth it? Like, what else can I get for like $300? That's not a gaming headphone. It doesn't have a microphone, but that type of stuff.
So, the big question I think is maybe like what's on most people's minds is, what do you think you get when you move from like a gaming specific headphone to something else? Do you think there's still do you lean one way or the other for actual gaming versus listening, or are you just done with gaming headphones at this point in time?
For me, I don't really think there's a difference to be honest, besides like a gaming headphone has a microphone, right? And most of them are closed back. I think that's kind of the thing that they kind of normally kind of fall into versus like, audiophile headphones, everyone thinks is mostly like open back headphones, not closed back headphones. And I feel like that's really the biggest difference between them is like it just doesn't have a microphone and it's open back. But I think you can have good gaming headphones. They're just I think the amount of money someone spends on it is really the difference. Like, if you're trying to buy a gaming headphone, like I tried so many like $50 ones, and there's just not enough money to make it good. It's just like that's just the fact. Like $50 is just not enough. When you spend like 100, 150, you get into that range of like better stuff.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that sentiment. I think when you're buying something under $100, you're making a lot of concessions, right? It's not that you can't find some decent sound down there, but it's not gonna be flawless. That's for sure. And you know, I think once you get past $100, there's so much to choose from there that it's really difficult to recommend anybody getting less than that. But do you have any, like, if somebody's looking for like the cheapest headphone that's like will get you decent gaming quality, do you have a under $100 pick for people?
Yeah, definitely. So the one I'm actually wearing right now is the MX 100s, right? by Beyerdynamic, and these just came out like probably like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really curious because like I've tried the Beyerdynamics at like CanJam and my brother's like DT 990s, DT 1990 Pros. I've tried those before, and I knew they could make some good headsets. And this headset is definitely like, I would say, audiophile grade. Like it has this amazing bass and directionality is great, and I think it's really good for that immersive gaming. But I do think like when we talk about gaming, there's also like different types of gamers, right? There's
Sure.
some type of people who want to play like RPG games, like Monster Hunter, just being immersed. You just want good sound. I think this headphone is definitely for that. Versus there's certain people who want like FPS gaming, and FPS gaming, they want like accurate location, soundstage. And I think like too much bass might distract people from like locating things because if explosions is coming off, then like there's a different headset for like those type of people. But
So
I think for
So I was gonna say, do you have like a preference? Like, what's your gaming and use case niche? Because me personally, like I'm more of an immersion person. I mean, I want good directional audio for when I'm playing games like that, but for me, it's more about like the holistic experience because I'm not that competitive anyway, if I'm being, totally honest. Like I'm not gonna be out there winning any tournaments or anything like that. I want it to like sell the experience and for me to just be able to, be in it and be in the moment and enjoy it and have kind of like, somewhat believable audio for whatever situation I'm in. Are you a competitive player? Are you an immersion player? A little bit of both?
I would say like I'm definitely a competitive player in the sense that like I love playing. I grew up basically playing a lot of Counter Strike, so like I was really into that type of stuff. But I used to play Counter Strike with like AirPods, like ear pods, like those little things
Mm,
inside your ears, and like I was playing fine with them. So I would say I'm definitely more of a competitive gamer, but I'm trying to like I want to get more of that sound detail because a lot of these competitive gamers like to like turn their settings like really low, like 720p, get like every single advantage out of them. I'm not trying to compromise like my experience. I still want to like
sure.
play on a high quality everything and same with my headset. So I would say I want things that have good directional, good sound stage, but I don't want to compromise on like bass and like all these things to like enjoy the experience, right? And so
Sure.
I think this headphone is definitely like one like that's like good for that. And I feel like I had another headphone that my brother just brought me for competitive gaming, which is this. This is the ADX 900 700X by
Hmm.
Audio Technica, and it's like really big sound stage, really good like directionality. I was like, this is definitely if you want to care about competitiveness, it's this.
If
What about you?
yeah, I mean, I think probably the only real headphone that I would recommend for gaming under $100 is that one that you got right there. That was going to be the one that I was going to suggest. It's the 700X. And I got one. My review isn't out on it yet, but um, I was able to buy one I think for like $65, Amazon open box, I think. So like there's deals out there on those and I sold them. I mean, I already sold them because I've got some other ones, but for under $100, I think that's a very, very solid choice as far as getting accurate positional audio. Like I'm hard to beat. Hard to beat if you can pick it up for 65, $70.
Curious, what do you think about it for like music? I literally just like finished my review of these, and I was wondering what you thought.
No, no, not for me. I mean, it's just too sloppy, I think, for my taste for music. Like it's very for me, I thought it was very kind of gritty sounding. It wasn't super resolving. So I don't feel like there's a whole lot of nuance there to it personally, which is like I get a lot of enjoyment when I'm listening to music out of those little like macro or excuse me, like micro details and all the little nuances of things. Um, I don't think none of that, like for gaming, I don't think is nearly as important because it's not real, right? You're listening to just like audio cues when you're gaming. And for those things, I think that headphone is really good. But for, yeah, like a fully resolving, nuanced musical recording, to me, they miss the mark a little bit.
Yeah, I think I felt similar. I was like, the bass is a little light, and the treble is a little bit emphasized here and there, but like for gaming is how that's my conclusion. Like for gaming, this was it.
Yeah.
Like if you want to game, and it might be like a budget 800S. I don't know if you think it is at all.
Yeah, funny enough, I've got the 800S just right over there actually right now. So I'll have a review coming out on that at some point. I mean, everything people say about the 800S is true for the most part, was my experience with it. But I would, except I feel like that headphone, while it might have kind of a similar frequency response to the 700X, it is an incredibly resolving headphone to the point where, like, I still found that one enjoyable for music just because you are able to get that detail out of it. But, I guess we're kind of getting into the idea now, if we're talking about the 800S, of like the law of diminishing returns when it comes to gaming. And I mean, I know a lot of people love that headphone and think it's like the end all be all for gaming, but I don't think I would ever spend the money on that headphone not just for gaming anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely $1,600. That's a big chunk of change. I don't think you need to go that high, definitely, to get a good experience. But I mean, if people have the cash, I guess they could, drop that much
Yeah,
money.
yeah. Well, if you got the money, of course. Like if you want to experience like, what most people feel is the best of the best, yeah, that's the one to go for sure. I mean, I actually chose to wear these for this talk because this is my favorite gaming headphone right here, and this is the Hi-Fi Man HE560. And I feel like this, for me, like, is as good as the 800S for gaming. So I was playing with both of them, going back and forth. And while the 800S, like, I thought was good, I found this one for me to be better. And maybe it's just because my brain's used to this headphone, so I have more experience with it. So I just, I think that's a big part of it, honestly, right? Is like,
I
if
agree.
you're going to use a headphone for competitive play, I'm sorry, my printer's going in the background here. My wife must have printed something. So,
It's all good.
but I think if you're going for competitive play, right, you pick your gear and you get used to it and you understand like what your gear does. And so, I mean, and there's been people all over lately, it seems like, on YouTube, saying this when it comes to gaming and competitive gaming, that, right, like, if having 800Ss really made the difference, then all the professionals would be wearing 800Ss, and that's definitely not the case, right?
I agree. Yeah, it's like this type of thing where it's like I've noticed this with like headphones too. Like my original gaming headphone is the HyperX Cloud Alpha. I actually like asked my brother for this because he didn't like it, and I was like, "Hey, this is like one of the best like on the market." And to this day, I still think it is. And it's just like I feel like when I use this for so long, like over like 2 years, as my daily headphone every single day, day in day out. I put it on and play games. I just know exactly where they are. It's just like you just know it so well. And when you get to like a headphone that has like a bigger sound stage type of thing, it's like it comes out a little bit more, but you're just gonna get used to like the difference in sound stage, and then you can accurately like pinpoint like is this guy far away, is this guy close, because once you get used to like that sound stage width, then you're just kind of they're all the same, I feel like, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see much point. Like for me, I don't think I would spend much more past a couple $100 for the HE560 here, and some sort of, a DAC amp, or stack to drive it, right? Like I do think signal chain matters. I am I guess one thing that I would advise against, that I feel personally, I mean, I'd be interested to hear your take on this, is I feel like a good stereo signal out of a decent DAC and amp, um, with just good headphones, is, for me, has always been way better than any sort of simulated surround sound stuff. I've just never been impressed with that technology. So I think for me, like, about $300 if I'm buying a gaming setup, right? I'm gonna get something like a full of four, or a shit stack or an atom stack or something like that, and I'm gonna get a couple $100 headphones like the HE560 here, and I think you're good to go. I've experimented with the digital surround sounds and the simulated surround sounds, and I've never thought that comes out better for me. Like, I don't know, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so like it's funny you mentioned that because like I feel like there's so many. It's like when people make music, right, and they produce music, it's made for like stereo. So doing simulated surround sound is just like this digital processing that like I never understood why it's so popular. Like every manufacturer, like HyperX, doesn't matter what it is, Razer, they all like sell that so hard. And I don't know if like it's just a common thing and if people just keep doing it or like people actually enjoy the experience of it. Because for me, it's generally been pretty meh. Like I just never use it or I turn it off.
Yeah.
But there's headphones that I have. Let's see, do I have it with me right here? It's the HyperX Cloud Orbit uh, here. And this is like, this is a headphone that's like the Audeze Mobius. It comes with like just so many features, just like 3D and all this type of stuff on it, and like 7.1 channel. And I actually found it interesting because like when you do these 3D type of things, you're able to kind of like create a bigger soundstage in a closed back. So almost makes it sound like an open back. In that sense, it's kind of interesting that like you can get a big soundstage that's simulated through like digital stuff, but have the isolation. I think that was kind of interesting. But then when I was playing games with it, like I feel like the positional accuracy wasn't good at all. Like I was
Yeah.
like, this guy should be there, and then like it was just not in the right spot. So I had that problem with it. So I don't think it's really good for like competitive gaming, but it could be kind of cool for like future like expansive soundstage.
I mean, I feel like, and maybe that technology just isn't quite there yet. Obviously, they seem to be continually working on it. And, Apple's got this new big push for spatial sound or whatever they're calling it, which is basically just that, like it's a simulated surround sound and things. So
But see,
that
the
technology
Apple
is.
one's different though.
Yeah,
The-
I mean, I haven't experienced it, like, but I guess in my head, and I should give it a chance, but in my head, I kind of lump them all into like it's a novelty thing that you play with for a little bit, and then when you're ready to actually like settle into something, you just shut it off. Like that's my experience with those things. I would just caution people, if you're looking at headsets and headphones, like don't be sold on like a digital surround sound simulation. I don't like it's from my experience, it's not even better. And I even know that like I continually fall into these marketing gimmicks, right? Just because I think, well, maybe the technology is better now and stuff. So PS5, like I got my PS5 and I bought their, wireless headset that comes with it because they're supposed to have this new digital surround sound engine in their games and it's supposed to be amazing. And like that headphone, I haven't reviewed it yet, but like I need to just so I can get rid of it because it's terrible. And like the sound is terrible, the surround is terrible. Like, and it just feels like a gimmick to me. And I don't feel like it's ever actually delivered. And as much as I want it to, it's never gotten me there personally.
Yeah. So the thing I was gonna mention was the Apple one is different from other things because they actually have like Apple mastered like tracks. So like people actually mastered it in their like
Oh,
software for Spatial. So then it's actually made versus like people tried to like take a stereo that was recorded and then just make it like 3D. And that's like where the problem lies. Like Apple actually tries to like make actual things made specifically with their software to do that. And it's supposedly more interesting.
have you tried it? I mean, have
Yeah,
you,
so I definitely tried it with
and
the
like what was your take? Did you feel like it was well implemented?
yeah, like the scariest thing is like if you ever use like AirPods Pro and they turn on the spatial audio, like sometimes I'll just stand there and it will just sound like you're in your room with you. And it'll like freak me out for a second. Like when it tricks you that way, like you think it's like those open back headphones where sometimes you hear sound and you're tricked like, wait, is that in my room with me? Like the AirPods Pro with the small things in your ear with that can trick my brain into thinking it's the same room. And to me,
Oh,
that
well,
tells me it's pretty impressive.
I'll have to give it a try then. I mean, I kind of written it off, but I'll have to give it a
Yeah.
shot. I've got
The Apple
AirPods.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, I've got AirPods Pro sitting in a drawer somewhere that I'll have to dig out. I didn't really like them all that much, but maybe that'll do the trick.
And the funny thing you were mentioning earlier was, the like 7.1, a lot of these like gaming headphones come with these like little dongle thingies, right? That like get packaged in there. And I actually recently was testing one out for fun because like I basically writ all of them off and I was like, these all suck. There's no way they're good, right? I just plug it in my motherboard, it's better. I actually audio tested one side by side with the Logitech G Pro X that comes with one, and it's garbage. It's straight up
Yeah.
garbage. Like the Apple dongle sounds better, and it's like $6. And it's like, why even waste your money on these things? I could hear the noise floor inside of it of the DAC amp that came with the headphone. I was like, it had noise going through it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's maybe a good place to talk about like diminishing returns, right? It is there's certainly like my experience. I mean, you speak from your experience, but in my experience, like with audio, for the most part, you get what you pay for. Like it does everybody need to spend big bucks on it to enjoy it? No, but as you spend more, like typically I've found like the quality is noticeably better for the most part. Like whether it's worth the money or not, I feel like that question is loaded for everybody in different ways based on what your needs are, what your wants are, how much money you make, and disposable income and all that. But I mean, I I you get what you pay for. I guess is what it comes down to. And so, like we said, if you're spending under $100 and you're getting a headphone that has surround sound and some sort of a dongle and some sort of an amp, like those just aren't going to be as good of quality as if you buy individual components that each cost $100. I mean, that's just the truth of the situation in my experience.
Yeah. And the funny thing that you mentioned that too is like, I was like, when I was first getting into this audiophile game, I was like, do I need a DAC? Do I need an amp? Like, that's so much money to spend. And then I gotta get a headset and all these things. And that's where like this headphone, once again, like this is gonna be my top pick, by the way, for my favorite like gaming headphone is definitely the HyperX Cloud Orbit. And the reason why I picked this headphone over every other headphone was that besides it has like planar magnetic drivers in it, it actually has a built-in DAC amp, right? So like it has its own integrated. So you didn't have to go out and spend extra money on that. I didn't have to worry like, oh, do I buy this headphone? Am I maximizing it with my DAC amp? Is there something better to power it? I didn't have to think about these thoughts. I didn't have to spend the extra money because it was built into it. And for me, starting out and like saving money, this headphone costs like $230 to get good sound quality, and the DAC amp is all taken care of. And to me, that's like if someone's looking for that like compact thing and not having to wonder about all the different pairings and gear, this was like a simple solution to that like problem for me.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, I do feel like there's an argument to be made for convenience, right? Like I am willing to sacrifice some sound quality for convenience, just depending on the situation. Like so my favorite portable is the iFi X-Can. I've been using that a lot. Like that's my main like listening thing if I'm not sitting here like at my desk. And it's Bluetooth, right? So like there is a quality loss there, but like ultimately for the convenience of it, like I'm okay. I'm willing to make that sacrifice in that instance, right? So like another headphone that's coming my way here soon that I'm excited to try out is the Hi-Fi Man Diva Pro, because kind of similar, right? Like it's a nice planar magnetic headphone, but it comes with its own little Bluetooth dongle DAC amp thing, right? And I don't know, we'll see if it's as good as it seems like people are saying it is, then I could see that being kind of like my go-to away from my desk setup just for the simplicity of it. You know what I mean? So I think it's totally fine to make those concessions. Again, it's all about like what do you want out of your audio? I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to build a system and to build a kit, and you just have to know that what works for somebody else might not be what you want, I guess is what my impression has been. Like you kind of do have to spend some time sifting out like what's good for you.
Yeah, so I totally agree with that. It's like to me, it's like when people like making a purchasing decision, they're like trying to decide what to buy. I feel like the fundamental question really is how much are you going to spend? How much are you willing to spend? Like there's always something better out there, but that doesn't matter. The question is how much money are you trying to spend, right? And once you have your budget, you can figure out what you want. Like if you only had $100 to spend, I would just be like this headphone, plug into your computer, you'll be solid, you'll be rocking, you'll enjoy it. Get this, maybe an Apple dongle, and just call it a day. Because if you only have $100, that's all you can spend. But if you have like $500, then I'd be like, okay, you can probably get a DAC and amp, maybe, and then like a Sundara or something like that, and that would be like a good package, right? So for you, like, what would you think is like a good combination for like each some price points?
Well, I guess I mainly at this point, like I'm a Mac user, so I don't PC game anymore. So I got my PS5 and like Switch for that. So that's how I game. So for me, it's a little bit different because I'm running it through like a home theater receiver. Which like that wouldn't have necessarily been my like preferred method, but just like it came with like my house came with like a nice receiver and like a surround sound system. So that's just like it's there. I already paid for it essentially with the house, right? So I that's the route that I'm going. But for me, it's like under $100, the 8700X is for gaming. Like if we're just talking for gaming, like that's what I'm gonna do. And I just run it either out of the receiver or out of the PS5 controller. Like that's where I would go. Going up a notch from there, like these new consoles, it's really sad. I think that they didn't include optical on them. I realized that like maybe I'm in like the 1% of people that like wanted that in there, but that just made it so much easier with last generation to get like a decent DAC hooked up to it, right? So I tried, like, unfortunately, and I still need to do more testing, but I got like a full of 4 right here, and I thought this was going to be like a nice little solution to like plug the PS5 in and just get headphone audio out, but I found this to not work very well with the PS5. Um, Oddly enough, I've got like a Sibasonic. I don't know if you've heard, I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's like a $25 DAC amp, and that seems to work really well with the PS5. So like if I'm going up in price to around $200, I'm buying these, the HE560, I'm using that Sibasonic with the PS5 as opposed to sticking it right into the controller. And then I think for me, for gaming, that's all the like I wouldn't spend any more than that just for gaming myself.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think like most gaming headsets stop around like $300 at most, and the top end tune. Like I really wouldn't spend more than that either. Like I think $100 will get you a lot already. Under 50, like under 100, like I don't know. Most of the stuff I tried was pretty garbage, like under 100. So I would say 100 minimum, and then like 300 maximum probably. So I
Do
agree
you
with
have
your
a
preference.
do you have a preferred like DAC amp? I know you're PC gamer, right? So like do you have a pick? That gives you I mean that makes it a lot easier if you're a PC user, honestly. And not that like you can do like with a console, right? You can run it to the TV and then you can run an optical from the TV and there's ways around it, but like I don't know. For me it was just easier to go through my receiver, which I guess I should note is that it's a Denon. I think it's like an SH750 or something like that. Like it's a pretty nice receiver. So I don't know, but just if anybody's wondering, that's what I'm using, and I'm pretty happy with it. But not that I'd recommend you spend $700 on a receiver or whatever it costs, but just like
Yeah,
I.
I'm trying to figure out like so for me, like I mean, when I'm gaming on desktop, I'm using my like balanced DAC amp, like $1,000 setup. Like obviously, that's not what I'm gonna recommend to other people to use.
Hmm.
My favorite things I've tried so far, honestly, is probably the iFi Zen DAC. That's probably the only thing I've really tried under like 200. There's
Yeah.
not really many things I've tried that are like desktop ones. I've tried a
Mm.
lot of portable ones, but so far it's that. I'm exploring some other options. Hopefully, I'm gonna review some more later, trying to find like a little bit more because that's really the only one I've heard that I liked under like $200. You
Yeah.
know,
I
that's
mean,
not like a ridiculous amount of money.
no, no, no. I mean, the Zen DAC is solid. A lot of people really like it. I found it to be a little loose myself, but I mean, I know a lot of people don't feel that way.
Yeah, I'm not
I
saying it's like the best thing there. It's just I've tried so far.
I think I've tried just about like all the $100 stacks or like $200 stacks, right? So shit stack or Atom Stack or Liquid Spark Stack. Like I've had all of those at some point in time, and I think all those are extremely solid for the money. And I would too say, look, I'm a big advocate of buying used. So like if you look for any of those on the used market, like you can probably get them for easily under $150 for a stack, and those would all be extremely solid setups to start with.
Yeah, I've like always wanted to try those, but I skipped straight to like a balanced one because I didn't want to like buy each one of these and then like wonder what the next step up is and then upgrade and upgrade. So my question to you, since you have experience with that stuff, is like, if you're using a DAC amp, like let's say a shit stack for like, the Magni Modi, right?
Hmm.
How does that compare to like your current desktop stack? Like, how do you think the diminishing returns work in that?
I think it's tough to say. I mean, certainly, I would say certainly diminishing returns are there, right? Just as far as like any of those entry level stacks, like they're reasonably good sound quality. And I think it all depends on like what headphones are you going to use with them. Because if you're going to use just like $200 to $300 headphones, I think for the most part, like what I've settled on is your gear should all cost about roughly the same, like for each piece, right? So if you got, $100 DAC and $100 amp, then probably, $100 to $300 headphones is good. If you go up, a step from that and you've got like a $200, $300 DAC, same for an amp, then now you're probably looking at like, okay, $400, $500 headphones, right? And you'll be able to notice the difference. It doesn't always synergize like perfectly. Or maybe your headphones, like if you've only got, like if I'm just using these HE560s, like I'm not going to notice as big of a difference as if I'm using like my HE6 or if I'm using something like the 800S or some clears or something like that, right? Like so it's all relative and it all kind of matters, but I mean, I think you can get very, very good audio for, one of those entry level stacks and like a couple $100 headphones. Sundara 660S, HE560, any of those I think are very solid. But at the same time, I'm sitting here and I've got a Bifrost 2 and I've got my Singzer SA1 and I've got my HE6 and I think they're all worth the money, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard to convey that or to like, say to somebody else that it's worth that money because in my own head, I think it's kind of ridiculous that I own, all this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I should be perfectly happy and could be perfectly happy with the lesser stuff, but it's just like, I do think it's better. Like, I do think it's better and noticeably
Yeah,
better,
it always comes down to like how much money people are willing to spend and how much they want to spend, right, on this stuff. And it's getting the best value at like each price point, right?
I mean, I think if you're chasing the detail and you have something very specific that you're looking for, like I would say it's probably out there if you wanna search for it and spend for it. But if you're happy with what you've got, or if you just want like good audio and you don't want to break the bank, set aside, $400, $500 and get an entry level DAC, get an entry level amp and get a decent set of headphones and be happy, and then decide from there. Like, again, I'm a huge advocate of buying and selling used because that's the only way that I'm able to try the things that I try, right? Like I go through gear like crazy because, I want to try something and then I'm curious how it compares to something else. And then I sell the one I don't like and then I move on from there. So it's just, I constantly have things coming and going and yeah, I mean, I keep buying stuff, so there's something to it, but I don't think it's necessary if that's I wouldn't encourage anybody else to do it, but I'm enjoying it. So, again, if you're that 1% of people that likes diving down rabbit holes like that, go
Yeah,
for it.
this is a funny thing too. Is like for trying gear, like for me, it's like I would try like my friend's stuff, like my brother's stuff. Like I went to CanJam, tried other stuff. I actually recently just went to Micro Center. I don't know if you're familiar with Micro Center, but they're like a retailer that like sells really cheap like PC stuff, but also like has gaming gear. And they basically had this whole entire like rows of just headphones on display, and you can just plug in whatever you want. So I just went to the store. I like tried like 20 different like headphones on with this like an Apple dongle and tried like some studio headphones and stuff. So it's like, find the stores where you can kind of demo stuff, or like there's certain like if they're in the area that would also help like figure out things that you want.
Yeah, I mean, I live in like rural Iowa, so I don't really have that option to like. I don't even know if there's a headphone store that exists in Iowa. I'd be surprised if there is, but um. So I mean, and that's why I have to buy used, right? Like I do my demos, but I pay for them, right? I pay for them. I try to get good deals, and then I sell them. So I don't, I see it as like kind of a rental process almost more than actually like buying things. But yeah, the more headphones you can try for free, if you've got friends doing it, if you've got fortunately for me, like I'm starting to make enough friends through this hobby online that we're starting to kind of like share and send headphones to each other, which certainly like alleviates things. I've had a couple of cool people reach out that are like pretty local to me just through YouTube, and we've exchanged some gear. So I think all that is wonderful to do. Like the more you can trade and exchange and just build kind of a community of it around you, like everybody's going to benefit from that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's really cool to just like try stuff. Like I remember when I was at like CanJam, I was just like in line waiting, and then there's this random guy like next to me. I started talking to him, and he was literally carrying like a Susvar in his backpack, and then in his hand he was holding a Verte close. I was like, whoa, whoa! Like he has all these things. I didn't even have to like go to like one of these stations that like all these people were like having demo units. I just like asked him. I was like, he actually offered. He's like, "Do you want to listen to Verte close?" I'm like, sure. I don't even have to wait in line. I plugged it into like my i5 signature and just started like trying the headphones out. And then that same day, I was in line again and like waiting for like the LCD5. And I was talking to this guy, and he just had a freaking 1266 on his neck, just carrying it on his neck. And he was just like, "Have you heard this before?" I was like, "No." He's like, "You want to try it?" I was like, "Let's do it. Let's do it." And he just like
Yeah.
lends me to try it. And it's kind of cool just like meeting people and talking to them and just like having those
Yeah.
things happen.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up CanJam because I knew that you went and I saw like some of your videos that you made, and I think I'm gonna go. Like my plan is to go this summer. It's in Chicago, and so there's one in Chicago this summer, and it's a doable drive for me. Not too bad of a trip. So I definitely want to go. So just like, what was that experience like for you? I mean, it
All right, that's going to do it here. I thought that was a good spot to leave off because the rest of that CanJam conversation is going to happen over on Ryan's channel. So again, link below to go check that out. Hope you have a great holiday season here, and I will see you in the next one.